Hi boys and girls. Today I'm going to be doing modelled reading with you. Today, modelled reading, I show you two things. One, what good reading sounds like, because we know good reading sounds like talking. The second thing that I'm going to be showing you is how I use my reading strategies when I'm reading a new word. Today's text is called Gardens. Have a look on the front cover. Let's predict together. I wonder if it's going to be persuasive. Are they trying to convince me? Informative or entertaining? Now I can make this prediction of what the author wants to tell me from the front cover. I'm looking for clues. That's how we infer. We look for clues. Alrighty. I can see a variety of different flowers, different shapes, different sizes, different colours. I can see some trees. There's a rose bush there. There's a very large tree in the middle. The large tree, how clever is this? Someone's actually put two lawn chairs underneath. Do you know why? Can you see that shady part there? That's right. They've put the chairs under the tree so they can be in the shade. Let's start reading. Our story is called Gardens, and it was written by Heather Hammonds and actually illustrated, that's the person that did the pictures, by Ben Spivey. Now this page looks a bit different to when I usually read a story. This page is the first page. It is, but there's no story starting yet. It's called the contents page. Can you say contents? That's right. The contents page just tells me what's inside the book. Contents is actually what's inside something. If you've got a packet of chips, the contents inside are chips. Well, the contents in this book are two different things. We've got a narrative and an exposition. A narrative is a story, and an exposition is trying to persuade us. So you know what? This book actually has two different reasons. The author is trying to tell us two different things. In the narrative, the author is trying to entertain us. Might even teach us some things. In the exposition, trying to convince us. Do you remember what that's called? Persuade. Over here, it says screens. Usually this would say pages, but today, because we're on the screen, it says screens. Let's start reading. This narrative is called The Messy Garden. It was Saturday morning. Tara and Mum were up early because they were going to visit Auntie Meg. Did you hear it? That's right. I put all those words together so it sounded like talking. I stopped at my full stops. I stopped at my commas. When I'm reading though, and when you're reading so that it sounds like talking, trying to put all of the words together might be a little bit tricky. So when you're reading, try and put 2 to 3 words together. When I read, I try and do 2, 3, maybe sometimes even 4. It was Saturday morning. Did you hear that? I put all 4 together. Tara and Mum, that was 3, were up early. Another 3. Because they were going, that was 4, to visit Auntie Meg. That was 4 again. If that's a little bit tricky, try and read just 2 words at a time. Let's try it now. Auntie Meg lives by herself now, said Mum. Now, it sounds good, didn't sound great. Why? Because we don't want to say lives by. Lives by herself makes sense. Auntie Meg lives by herself now, said Mum. She needs us to help her with her garden. Can you hear me putting those words together? Are you doing that when you're reading? I know sometimes we forget. When you're reading, try and make sure that you put those words together so that it sounds like talking. Auntie Meg was pleased to see them. My garden is a mess, she said. Did I sound like her? Using my expression. There was long grass growing everywhere, and the flower gardens were full of weeds. Can you see all the weeds? Oh no, it doesn't look like a beautiful garden. There's a lot of work to do, said Tara. Do you see how you have to use more expression when someone's speaking? And I know someone's speaking because I can see speech marks. Mum cut the long grass and plants. Auntie Meg raked up the leaves. Tara pulled out the weeds and put them in garden bags. Then she cleaned the old bird bath. It was very hard work. Oh, that word's not hard. It has the same first letter, and it makes sense in the sentence. It was very hard work. So it does kind of look right. It does make sense, but I've got to look at the ending. Sometimes, if I'm not sure, I can chunk into parts. First sound, middle sound, last sound. We're lucky in this case because it's only a 3-letter word. So our sounds are only single sounds. H, o, t. Put it together. Ot. Did you stretch it? Get that chewing gum ready. H, o, t. Hot. Let's reread. It was very hot work.
Hot.
We were right. At the end of the day, the garden was tidy again. There were bees buzzing in the flowers and birds splashing in the clean water in the bird bath. Auntie Meg was very happy. Look, I can see them happy. Can you see those speech marks? Someone's talking. I've got to get my expressive voice. Frogs may even come back to live in the little pond, she said. This is a beautiful garden for wildlife, said Tara with a smile. Did you hear me change my voice? You can even put a character's voice on. This is our exposition. Now, an exposition is different. It's not a story. It's trying to convince me of something. So it's going to sound a little bit different. A garden for wildlife. I think it is good to have a garden for wildlife. Our garden should have lots of plants and fresh water because birds, insects, and frogs will come and live there. Can you see all of the beautiful garden? Now think about what they've just said. A garden should have lots of plants, fresh water. Have they got this in this garden? They've got lots of fresh water. They've got lots of plants. And can you see that little bird bath there? That's so the birds and the insects and the frogs can live there too. If a garden has trees and bushes, birds can make their nests in the branches. Insects hide in the bark. Wow, are you learning lots? Not only is this persuading me to make sure that I plant lots of trees in my garden, it's also teaching me. Birds and insects can get food from the flowers and berries. Are you learning things too? Do you remember this picture? It's from the front cover. A garden should have lots of plants because bees get pollen and nectar from the flowers. Wow! I wonder if your garden has lots of plants. I've got plants, but maybe I don't have enough flowers for my little buzzing bees to get pollen and nectar. It is good to have a bird bath in a garden so that birds can drink or splash in it. Oh my goodness, look how much fun they're having. Frogs may come and live in a garden pond. It's convincing me already. I want a bird bath in my garden just so I can see those birds having a bath in my garden. A beautiful garden with wildlife. Remember, wildlife. In the wild, like in Madagascar. The wild is when they're not a pet, so that we see them out and about. And their life, wildlife. A beautiful garden with wildlife can make you feel happy. Are you convinced? I'm convinced. Bye, boys and girls.